Welcome to Skill Diff, where we not only have differing opinions, but ultimately vastly different skill sets. I'm CJ Collins, filling in for Mr. Sinnott, and with me, Patrick Holifield. Patrick, you just came back from vacation. We didn't see you last week. We want to know where you've been and what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate I did miss, but yeah, I was on vacation, went down to PCB down in Florida with the fam. It was really fun, had a good time. It was nice and hot, got a slight bit of a tan. I don't know if you can tell or not, you know.
You're glowing.
Thanks.
You're glowing, you're looking good.
Thank you. But, dude, well, over the weekend, though, there was a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
I couldn't just enjoy my vacation.
That's right.
We had Austin Majors, we had Masters Torontos, and a little bit of stuff brewing in Call of Duty. But we're going to start out with my favorite game of all time, best ever, Valorant. Masters Toronto ended. Paper X crowned the champions. They finally won a trophy.
Yeah.
It's been years since they've been on that champ stage. In second place, they finished. But they won. They overcome Fnatic, who was looking fantastic throughout this, had a nice losers bracket run. How do you feel about that Fnatic Paper X matchup? Was it a good one? Did you enjoy it?
So one of the things that we have done a lot of is watch matches, and I found myself very engaged with that match, specifically because it was close. The first match, super close on Sunset. Second match, Icebox, also very close. Then it started to taper off a little bit, but ultimately, like, Paper X, for the seed they had within EMEA, playing against Fnatic, was like, it was a close, really good match. And I think what was also crazy about that is Fnatic just had all of the momentum of winning through the losers bracket. You know, they lost in the second round of winners and they cruised through losers and beat up everybody. They beat G2, they beat the Wolves, they beat they didn't beat Paper X, but they were on this battle through the losers bracket. And I think you get so much momentum from that side. And then they had some players that just popped off. Davey was one of them. Forsaken was another. There was a lot of these plays that were being made throughout the entire losers bracket, but specifically in that match that allowed those guys to be able to show up and win. And I like the underdog. And so when Paper X showed up and took the dub, I was excited. I was cheering. All right, I had my fist in the air. I like that.
That's what I like to hear. I mean, obviously, I had high hopes for Paper X. If we take a little call back to our other GGN videos, our power rankings for Master Torontos, I voted for Paper X as the dark horse. I figured they would do well. I put them as number 2, actually, in the ranking system. And, well, they surpassed that and ended up being number 1. And which I expected, which is kind of crazy because they had a very slow start to the split. They started out like 0-3, and nobody was even really expecting them to get here. And then they managed to get it together, made a couple changes, and then they come in as the 3rd seed. And then people were still writing them off that they weren't going to do that well, that Gen G was going to do better. And Gen G, unfortunately, they lost, I think it was 3 games. They just lost games where they were ahead by like 6 rounds. Incredible. Paper X didn't do that. That whole run through the winners bracket, and this is no offense to Fnatic because they did play well. Alfier, when he was playing against Sentinels, I mean, he was making them look like gold players. It was insane. But Jing and Something and all them were dominating on Paper X, and every game was close, and that's what's crazy because their style is not like anybody else in Valorant. They're very unpredictable. They're very fast-paced. They like to shove it down your throat, and that either works or don't. And Fnatic are very methodical, and they're slow-paced, and they like to think things out. But Paper X was able to get that upper hand, and I'm happy for them. I'm proud, and I'm ready to see what they're going to be able to do at Champs.
I definitely, as I was watching it, saw what you're saying in the fact that they are an unconventional team, and they played unconventional ways, and it did work out. And I think that one of the things that I can see from that team is a lot of folks didn't expect that from them, right? They didn't expect the big plays. They didn't expect some of the things that happened, and that threw Fnatic back on their heels, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, because Fnatic looked better on paper, and they passed the eye test better than Paper X, in my opinion. So. But a great finals, though, ultimately. It was an awesome finals. Best of 5. Really enjoyed seeing it. Okay, next topic. We're going to jump into the next one. Staying with Valorant and Riot. I know we become the Riot hate show at times. I've seen this happen. But we're going to continue on that train. It's interesting. One of the things that happened in the show match is Riot announces a new map, right? And so we're playing on a new map for the actual match itself. And then we're getting a new patch as we walk into EWC. I think it's interesting that we've timed that stuff right after, we have our Masters event. But there is another event coming on, And I think the other thing built into that is the Tejo nerf. And so do you think Riot just loves chaos when they make all these changes, you know, amidst the massive tournaments going on at this time of the year?
That's an interesting one because it does seem a little bit more chaotic now than typically it does. Because I know before Toronto, we were talking about, oh, the Tejo nerf's going to go in effect before Toronto, and that's going to shake things up. And while that did shake things up, obviously we saw way less Tejo. He's pretty much not played except for here and there now.
Yeah.
And that really does change the dynamic for some teams. So any changes they do, I seen they're buffing Waylay in this next patch. They're adding some changes to Reyna with the way her flash works, the health's going down. So they're doing some interesting changes that could potentially make some duelists more viable, like Waylay. So we might be able to actually see her more into EWC. But yeah, I think Riot does like to just throw stuff in the face because the new map, like, sure, I think it visually looks cool. I don't know how it plays yet because I ain't got to try it yet. But they're dropping it into competitive, even just on the normal game.
Yeah,
straight into competitive day one. But hey, you know what they said? You get to get a little bit less of an RR loss when you lose on it.
Yeah.
Oh, how nice of them. They're thinking of us out there of like, oh, well, if you lose on the new map, you won't lose as much rating. That just seems kind of like a little gimmicky to me, though. It's like, you know, now I just want to play on the new map because if I lose, it don't hurt me as bad.
Sure.
But I don't know. I think shakeups are nice because it kind of just throws things into a different perspective. So that way we don't necessarily have the same outcome. Not that Paper Rex would be able to go in and completely create the same thing in the EWC or whoever it may be, because we do have new teams that will be in the EWC, like 100 Thieves. So I'm definitely excited to see how these changes are going to shake up for some of these things we haven't seen in a minute.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is how intentional it is, because I do think Riot thinks a lot about how they're going to patch their game and when they're going to do that. And I can appreciate that, like, some of these changes are directly after this event, right? Going into EWC, which I would argue is a bigger event than the Masters event that just happened because of the prize pool and the stage and everything that's going on in Saudi. And I think that that's really cool. But I don't know, when I compare it to like a Call of Duty or a Counter-Strike who don't pay as much attention to the patch releases and the things they're updating, it is very intriguing that they've made an intentional choice to be able to first nerf Tejo users and then second, add a new map and create this dynamic where you kind of have to study for the test right before it happens, right? And I think that does lead to chaos, which is part of the reason I think we see a lot of inconsistency on like the top teams not making it. Like G2 didn't make it. Now Jogamo had a bad event. Like Jogamo did not play good. It was, when I was looking at the stats, he was like -19 overall in a lot of the series that he played, specifically in the Fnatic series, but like, it's also because the game is changing, right? And so the dynamic of the game changing influences a player like that, and that's why it leads to inconsistencies from the players themselves. So interesting dynamic. I don't know.
Nah, yeah, it is very interesting that way, and I think that's where these two games differ a lot, is because like the game we're fixing to be talking about, Counter-Strike, you really don't have any balance changes over there. It's pretty set in stone. I mean, they'll shake up stuff every now and then, but yeah. With Valorant, you know, you're getting changes every month, and with that comes nerfs and buffs and map changes.
New agents, map changes, yeah. And I think it's great that they have that new content, but it's also like it leads to the chaotic environment, right?
That it does. Well, I mean, on the more chaos, like I said, Counter-Strike, the major in Austin, North American soil here, just ended. Fantastic tournament. Was awesome to watch. Some would say it's better than Valorant. You know,
some would say.
That's what some would say.
You would say that.
That's what some would say. Anyway, it was great. We had Shocks on there. Usually it does Riot, League of Legends. She had there as a host on there, which was pretty cool to see her on there. Yeah. And just all around fantastic tournament. But Vitality, crowned champions, major winners, 7 trophies in a row now. They were going up against a different opponent than everybody thought, though. We all assumed Vitality was going to be here. We did not assume that the Mongols were going to be the ones that were going up against them. Fantastic series. How do we feel about that Vitality Mongols?
Man, it's like I want to use the word dynasty, but I'm scared to because of like the immediate reaction from the other side that like this isn't a dynasty. It's also interesting that they lost that best of 1 to Legacy on arguably their best map in the beginning of the entire thing, which was a stage 3 first map going into it. A hot Legacy takes them down, and it was like 13-4. Like,
crazy.
Vitality didn't look like they were on the chessboard. And then when you show up to the grand finals against the Mongols on Inferno, they absolutely just showed up for that moment again. And you saw why Vitality's best map is Inferno, right? And so it's like, it kind of came full circle where like they started off slow on that map against one team and then was able to crush it in the end. I think that is really intriguing. And I think that I would put Vitality in a tier above most average teams that have done a lot of great things. I think that Legacy loss is a little bit of a whatever. And I would cement them as a team that is, for 2025, a very dominant team and the team to beat. But I don't know if I still would hesitate to use the word dynasty. I mean, it's impressive, but let's see if the next major shows up and falls their way.
I mean, if things keep going the same way, I mean, potentially could, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But we got, roster changes at the end of the season. I'm sure we're going to see some shakeups, so that could definitely dismantle Vitality's reign. But for this season, yeah, dominant. I mean, 7 trophies in a row is nothing to sweat over here because they can continue it up. Because the thing I love about Vitality the most is that, like, they're a team of 5 individual players that all know their role, understand their role, and at any moment, they can clutch that 2v1 for you, or 1v3, or 2v4, or whatever it may be. Because, like, some will say, if you take Falcons, for example, if you take Monacy out or something, it's like, that's like a major blow. Maybe Nico at some times.
Yeah.
And it's like the rest of the team might not be able to recover from that, especially, I guess, more would be Spirit. If you kill Dawn, that'd be the bigger one. Same can't be said for Vitality, but I'm happy for the Mongols. The Mongols being able to make it to the finals, all of Mongolia was showing up there. They all were staying up. It was like a national thing for them to all watch it. It's a shame they had to get stomped like that. But, I mean, we all saw it coming. But, hey, they put on the show for that first game.
Yeah, I mean, that Mirage is crazy. I think, honestly, for me, the more and more I watch the Mongols, the more and more I realize the linchpin of that team is 9-10. Yo, when 9-10 shows up, that team is almost unbeatable, right? Like, they are just so fluid when he's making plays. And you saw specifically on Inferno, on that third map, he missed every shot. Like, every single time he went for his challenge that he was winning on map 1, he lost. And I think he was 0-8 through the first 8 rounds, right? So it was like, if your star player, who I now believe is a star player on that team, I think if he doesn't perform, the rest of his team doesn't. Because I think all of them are relatively average, and they're not like Vitality in the fact that Vitality is like, I think 2 of those players, any of those 2, if they're last alive, can make a play. I think Rops can, I think Mezzy can, I think Flames can, Apex definitely can, and Zywoo definitely can, right? Like, those guys, if there's 2 of them alive, they're going to make it. Where I think on the other side of it, it's like Mongols, it's like there's certain 2v4s that you don't want on the Mongol side because they're not always going to perform. Which is really intriguing. I do love watching them play. They're still the team I want to root for, but I honestly still think they're capped where they are right now.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. And that's what it was. 9-10 definitely had a bad game. It's all just when you're in that moment and it's their first major or like their first finals here in the major. And so, like, that's got to be a lot of pressure. And it's clear, you can see that they were kind of choking under that pressure. And it happens. And with time, you'll get better at that. Vitality, they've been here, done that. This is another day in the park for them, and they were hyped up, and they carried that momentum through. And it's unfortunate to see because, like I said, it was exciting for Mongolia, for the Mongols, for the players involved, but they took a beat.
They did. And, I mean, the other team that the Mongols played, and just kind of switching to our next topic as well, S1mple versus the Mongols. And I'll ask you the question is, like, give me your synopsis of that series because, obviously, it was close. And it was fun to watch, but FaZe couldn't stand up to the Mongols.
This is just the same old tale that we've been preaching on the show forever. Is FaZe are they're just not it right now. And like, sure, you can bring in S1mple, and S1mple's got that name, but S1mple, look, I truly, wholeheartedly believe that S1mple can get back to a close form, not all the way to what he was when he was the best, but I think he can get back to a very close form. But obviously, he's not that right now. Yeah. But they got him for the name, and for his potential skill, but it just didn't pan out. And it's not just his fault. He had some good series, and he had some bad ones. But, I mean, Rain, Kerrigan, Elige, I'm the most disappointed in because back in the day, I was a big fan of Elige. He was a dominant, considered one of the best in North America, the best North American Counter-Strike player. And now sometimes he gets out there and, dude, I don't even if he knows what game he's playing at this point. And it's just like, I don't want to say it's necessarily Kerrigan's IGL. He's definitely been in the game for a long time. He knows what he's doing. But something on that team has got to change because, like, the Mongols Sure, they're a number 5 rated team. They're a good team, but you're FaZe. You got a team of veterans. You got S1mple in here. I don't think it's a series that you should be losing.
Yeah, there's definitely, for me, it comes down to, it looks like there are 4 players that are on the same page in the FaZe roster, and there's 1 player that's not. And that 1 player that's not is S1mple. And like, you can tell that he's rusty. You can tell that he doesn't necessarily find the flow. And with that series specifically, you could tell he wasn't winning the fights against 9-10. Like 9-10 was winning all of those fights. And once again, who's the player that if win fight, Mongolz win? 9-10, right? So like if 9-10 is winning, they win. There's also like just a couple moments like the foot shot in the tunnel where S1mple should have hit. You know, like I think he just missed the shot, right? Everyone else is like, oh, like that should have hit. It didn't hit. He just missed the shot, right? Or go for the wall bang or try something else, you know, call for a nade, whatever it is. And then there was another one where they're running at him on Mirage. S1mple missed a clear, easy shot on that player that was pushing him and then missed the no-scope. And it's like, that's not the S1mple you need in order to win that matchup. And then on Anubis, he's like, he clearly has this shotgun that doesn't play with the team. Like he's just trying to make a play in that close quarters, you know, on the B side, not on the A site over by water. And like he just didn't, it never fanned out for him in a way that worked. And Rain was playing with him on that side of the map. And I think Rain kind of tapered off on map 2 as well, where like Rain needed to play better because Frozen and Elige and Kerrigan were in that match. Like they were making plays. Elige won 2 2v1s. Like he was making plays on that map for that team to win. But it was just S1mple that who couldn't hit the op shot, which is like, he's the GOAT of the op. Like he has to hit that stuff in order for them to win. He just didn't.
Washed. It's just that simple, guys. Washed. It's sad. I know. It's sad. It's unfortunate.
S1mple buff, not enough. But honestly, it was a fun match to watch. It was really a lot of fun to watch. Just S1mple being on the stage and the crowd kind of, they were all rooting for FaZe, which was interesting because normally they're the Mongolz fans, right?
Yep. Well, it was FaZe and then to the Mongolz.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, we're going to go to the Teardown next. In the Teardown, we're going to talk about Call of Duty. So I'm going to set this up for us. The Toronto Ultra had the opportunity to run a one-off tournament, and they invited a bunch of Challengers teams and 2 CDL teams specifically. One were the Gorilla Mates from Los Angeles, and the second one was the Minnesota Rocker, which is the new addition of Kenny. They've looked pretty good. It was wild. And then the bracket, as we went through it, what happens was there were Challengers teams that beat the Rocker and the Gorillas. And so the Rocker got bounced, I think, by 5-7. The name of the Challengers team is 5. It says 5 first. And then the LAG Gorilla Mates lost to Team Notorious. When the Rocker lost, they just forfeited. They said, hey, we're in losers bracket now, we're done. When the Gorilla Mates lost, they just got lost twice, and so they got bounced. But it's interesting that, one, the Ultra decided to run this event at the time they did, because I think it's interesting. I don't know if I want to play in it because of the timing of it, walking into champs next week, giving a look at other people. It's kind of like I would rather scrim teams I'm not going to play that I think are equal in caliber. And then 2, that 2 CDL teams that didn't make champs got bounced from it, and the mentality of the organization and the players because of getting bounced from that event. So I'm curious what your thoughts are based off that dynamic on if you would have played or if you think it's ill-timed or what's your thoughts?
You know, I guess ill-timing would be a word for it, especially if we're playing teams that were necessarily in champs, which I mean, Ultra obviously is, but you know, the lag mates and stuff, unfortunately, they didn't make it. Not that they were going to, but I think the timing, yeah, not the greatest. I mean, yeah, champs is coming up next week, EWC the next month.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the Challengers team, what's funny to me is I can't remember, his name is slipping my mind, who was just talking not that long ago how about there's no talent in the Challengers team.
Envoy, Dylan Envoy.
Yeah, Envoy, yeah. Talking about there's no talent down there. Challengers are all bad. They flake out easy. Here they are beating the lowest rating teams in the CDL, which some people here in the office stated, like, yeah, they figured that was going to happen because they play terribly. And it's unfortunate. And that's how I feel about a lot of the CDLs. Like, there's a couple teams up here about the 5 that I like to watch. And then the rest, dude, it's a free-for-all out there. It's like 30 to 40 ranked teams in Counter-Strike. You never know what's going to happen. And it's sad because the Rocker, when they first made the switch and added Kenny, it was looking pretty decent. Like, sure, they were losing those Game 5 search and destroys. but they were going from just getting destroyed to like they're right there. They're on the cusp of being able to win. And then you're just getting wiped by a challenger team, and then you forfeit after that. You know, that's just got to be so embarrassing. I don't know, man. And then the lag mates, I don't know what's going over there on that camp. I think that they made a couple of roster changes. It didn't make no difference. Playing the challenger teams is clear that something needs to change. Maybe you need to pick up the challenger team and just add them all to your roster.
Well, that's where I think I end up in a weird spot, because if I'm an Oregoner and I look at my team and I say, hey, you guys can't even beat a top challengers team, like, why am I would give the opportunity to somebody else who at least has some upside. It might be an unknown upside, but there's some upside there. And I think that's really challenging, specifically because as a player, I want to play and compete and win everything I can, right? And in a lot of ways, like, I don't really care who I'm playing against, but when you are supposed to be a lot better and you show up and you don't win the thing that you were supposed to win, you kind of look silly. And it puts you in a really weird spot, because if I'm the org, I'm like, yo, like, I want that team instead of you guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's to me, it's just so funny, because like a lot of times, especially if we look from the general public's view, you look down at challengers teams and you really don't think much of them. Most of the general Call of Duty fans probably never watched a challenger match in their life. It's of no interest to them. And unfortunately, it's like that for every esport. But it's like, so you don't really think of them as much. You hear people like Envoy or anybody else say they're all bad, and it's like, you don't think anything of it. It's like, oh, these guys are a cut above the rest. But then you start to realize in things like this that, like, well, maybe these guys I'm watching right here aren't the current best. Like, there's a pool of talent down here that's not getting a chance to shine for whatever reason that may be. I don't know what the reason is, but it's like, you know, as like you said, as an Oregoner or anybody, a recruiter or whoever for any of these other teams, it's like, yeah, I think there's definitely some talent. Omit, Notorious, Team War. I think there's definitely some talent on there that has potential. We've seen it all this year in the CDL of changes. We have Mercules coming in. We have Neptune coming in. Tons of changes that have definitely influenced and helped teams coming from the lower leagues or from different games. So I think it's definitely a possibility. I think it's funny. Good on the Ultra. To me, it's just a good old laugh that they would let themselves get destroyed by the challengers team. And look, it happens sometimes. Maybe it's a one-off.
Yeah.
But I don't know. After looking at that season, I don't know. I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that the Ultra even decided to host this tournament. I'm sure it's a sponsorship deal with AMD that they had to run some kind of sponsorship thing to get a contract deliverable. But I think it's cool that at least it is a deliverable, and it's another tournament, right? One of the things, my complaints about the Call of Duty scene is there aren't enough events, live events or online events, for us to be able to watch and see. And more looks, you know, back in the day, we had a lot more events. There'd be, 26 events a year, which is basically one every other weekend. And now there's like 4 majors and champs, right? And so the amount of games that are played is so much smaller. So I think it's cool that the Ultra said, hey, let's turn a sponsorship deliverable into something we can make some money and host a tournament. But I think it is interesting that none of the other CDL teams joined, only the Gorilla Mates and only the Rocker. Everything else was challengers teams. So it's like the other 10 teams are like, yeah, we're not going to play in that because we know that they're going to give looks to the other teams. So it's interesting that those 2 teams did make that choice and choose that path. And ultimately, they can justify it in whatever way they want to. Maybe it's getting more reps. Maybe it's seeing where they're at. Maybe, it could be a number of different things. But ultimately, they did make that decision, and I think they look a little bit foolish. They look foolish now because of it. So
yeah, they did. They did make a little bit of a fool of themselves. All right, switching gears, moving on. We're going back around to Counter-Strike and Valorant, pretty much in a way. We're talking about Swiss play, and both of these tournaments for Counter-Strike and for Valorant both employed a little bit of Swiss in there. Obviously, Austin had a little bit more because obviously there's like 30-something teams compared to like the 8 over at Valorant. But Swiss changes, they offer a lot of fun engagements here. Everybody gets to face each other. You get a lot of upsets. It's really cutthroat about who goes through. It really, a lot of times, makes things a little unpredictable.
Sure.
You never know which way it's going to turn. So is Swiss stage play the way to go now?
Well, it's funny because we were looking at this past weekend, and we have Valorant, which is a double elimination tournament. We have Call of Duty, which is going to be a double elimination tournament. We had, obviously, CSGO, which is the Swiss model we're talking about, with best of ones, and ultimately, the Austin Major ended in a best of 3 as well, right? And so I think one of the things that does prove is the fact that Swiss helps weed out some of the teams that wouldn't make it based off of a poor seeding, maybe a group stage into a double elimination bracket. Oh, I can't get that word done. Elimination. It's an elimination. But I'm intrigued by the fact that I think we saw a lot of competitive Counter-Strike matches this past week. Well, I say the past 3 weeks have been really competitive. There's always been at least a couple that kind of flown in there. And I think Call of Duty won't be that competitive for champs, if I'm honest. You know, we're going to see FaZe, we're going to see Heretics, we're going to see Thieves. You know, those teams are going to 3-0 whoever they play, and then we're going to go on to the next, right? Maybe some optics in there. And then Valorant was interesting because a lot of the big teams, and maybe, like I said, could be inconsistency of the game, but it might be because it's a double elimination tournament and the seeding is a little bit messed up via regions because it's global, right? And I think that's intriguing because you did see a lot of the top teams fall. And that could be because of the bracket formula. Where Counter-Strike, I think in some ways it was kind of as it was supposed to be. I think we saw Pain did some upsets in there, but Pain actually played a lot better, right? And so they were a little bit undervalued originally and then kind of showed up and won some matches. And I think that Swiss format definitely played into their strengths, not their weaknesses. So I do like Swiss as a format. I don't love random seeding, though. I don't love when it's two teams that play against each other and you don't know, once you have your 8 teams, who the top 4 are and how those matches get divided up, and then the bottom 4 and how those matches get divided up. I think you could probably put some kind of scale on the back of that to make sure that it's a little less random. So those are my thoughts. What do you think?
Fantastic thoughts there, CJ. I think my thing is I've never had a problem with Swiss. I think Swiss is fine. Austin was definitely a little bit interesting to me because one, I'm just not a fan of BO1s.
Yeah, sure.
Which I get they have like 30 teams, so it's like you can't realistically do BO3s for 30 teams and get this event over with in a month. Okay, because we're going to be playing all day, every day.
Sure.
And I mean, they already had multiple streams running per day just for BO1s. But it is kind of crazy because it does allow for those upsets. And like we saw with Legacy and Lynn and all these, there's a lot of runs that were made through these lower stages in Austin that were able to climb up through using this Swiss stage and be able to get there. Because I do like the fact that it was BO1. If you go into your advances, it's a BO3, or if you're going to be eliminated, it's a BO3. So that was a nice little touch to kind of save grace on there, because like we saw, like Legacy beat Vitality right off the bat in the BO1, ended their streak that they were on. But it's like, luckily, they're able to recover, and even if they did go another one, you get that BO3 where they can potentially sign no mess ups. Valorant is the same way. Swiss stage was nice. Every region gets to play each region. That way, first to 2 wins, you lose. I think it's fantastic. I think it's fun. Unfortunately, for some top teams, it does mean they might go home a little bit early.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it's the right way to play.
There you go. I mean, I'm always a fan of whatever gets us the most competitive matches. So the competitive matches, I'm down. I'm for it. I want to see Game 5, round 11s. I want to see overtimes. I want to see all the stuff that makes the game exciting. And I think that's good for viewership too. So whatever we can do to get to that point is what we want. But the other thing that we're going to discuss, and this is going to be a little bit of a general topic, so I'm going to ask it in a way that's fun and exciting, and you can play at home as well. Okay, pick any game. You can pick Counter-Strike, you can pick Call of Duty, you can pick Valorant, whatever you want to do. If you were a team, based off of what's just happened, and you looked at your roster and you said, hey, we need to make a roster change right now, what teams do you think you'd pick that fall underneath that category?
Oh, let's see. Well, if we're talking about Counter-Strike, I would say probably Na'Vi.
Na'Vi, yeah.
They've been in talks. Obviously, there's some potential change coming up, but obviously they were a fantastic team in 2024. They have not been having a good 2025 run. Obviously, something's got to change there. FaZe. Maybe they need to keep S1mple.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fantastic one. And then if we move over to Valorant, it's a little bit more of a tough one because I feel like a lot of the teams there were doing pretty steady. If I wanted to look maybe just into a specific region, I would say maybe, it pains me to say, maybe 100 Thieves could maybe do a little slight roster change, would probably make them a little bit better. Even though they did make that climb to the EWC, congratulations to them. But, I mean, I think they could definitely use one of those.
Yeah.
Same goes for, I don't know. It's a tough one because I do like Heretics, right? For example, in Valorant, they stick with the same teams. Even if we look at old school Counter-Strike VP, like having the same roster. I think that is also a very good thing because it's like you lose together, you win together, you grow together. You know, a lot of times teams will switch too much. That's what that's what they be calling them kind of challenger players all the times, flaking after one loss or whatever. It's like sometimes you got to stick together one, but sometimes that's not it. Sometimes you do just have to make a roster change because if your team ain't meshing, then you ain't winning.
That's right.
And there's only one thing you won't do in this world. That's win.
That's win. That's right.
Win.
I think for me, if I look at Counter-Strike, G2 has to make moves. That team has been absolutely gutted from Nico leaving to losing Monacy to whatever they are now. They don't have Hades anymore. Like everything is changing for that team. So I'm really curious to see who G2 kind of goes after. If it's taking apart another roster and then they create a plethora of effects on the back end. And the other one, and I would love to see Team Spirit make a move. I think they're just overdue for it. I'm curious who they will go. I think they should make a move. I don't know if they're going to. I think the rumor is they might. But I think Team Spirit with Donk, he's been still playing out of his mind. But I think Shiro and Zontic make a lot of sense on that squad. I don't like Magix. I don't like Chopper. I don't think they make plays. I've not seen them. I say that. They did make some plays this last event, so I'll eat my own words on that side. But overall,
kudos to them.
Yeah, kudos to them. Overall, that's a team that I expect more from, and they just I haven't seen it. I think Mouse is fine. I think that team stays together, and I think they make plays. Vitality shouldn't make any moves. I think the scary one that we saw today, Team Falcons did make a roster move. They dropped Magic. They picked up Kosuke. And so it's like, hey, that might be the change that Falcons needs to be able to take down the big bad Vitality. But obviously we saw Falcons had a terrible event for the Blast Austin Major. I think Valorant for me, I'm looking right at Fnatic because they needed somebody to show up. And who did they need to show up that didn't?
Well, Boaster didn't show up.
That's right. Boaster himself, right? He went -30 on the entire series, right? He had some good games along the way, but talk about a person that pulled you down when you needed them most. And maybe that's a personality thing they can get past. But for me, it's that's the most obvious choice. There's probably a lot of good players on the market that they can go snag, especially right before EWC, where they're going to need to show up. They can't play like they did against Paper Rex at EWC.
Hey, well, they semi-handled themselves good. Good or bad, changes or not, we will see, because apparently with the Falcons, money might be able to buy wins. That's going to do it for all of our normal segments, and now we're going to jump into our favorite segment, Buy or Sizzle.
I'll get us started. And the first one on our list, are we buying or selling AI thumbnail generators? So this is, if you're making a YouTube video and you want a thumbnail, should you be able to use AI for them? And have you liked them? Mr. Beast has been using them a lot. He uses it on his past video yesterday, which was a guy that was losing 100 pounds and he had to stay in a gym for a year to lose the 100 pounds. Do you hate this? Do you love this? You want to buy? You want to sell? What do you think?
Dude, say it. This is crazy coming from Mr. Beast of all people. I don't know. To me, I find it a little bit like a hypocrite. You want to talk about hard work and playing the algorithm and trying to figure these things out and working on these things to then just turn around and create a tool that can just have anybody do it at any moment. I think AI, don't get me wrong, I think AI has a place. Obviously, it's good for certain things. It can help you brainstorm ideas. There's a lot of things it can help you do, but there's one thing I don't want it doing, which is taking the creativity away from us, because AI will never be as good as us. That's just the sad reality. All it does is steal from us. That's just all it does.
Huh, interesting. I'm going to buy this. I like it. It saves time. I think it's going to be able to help creators make thumbnails faster that are going to be more valuable.
We ain't using it here at GGN. I'm just saying, if you guys ever see an AI thumbnail, please unsubscribe. It ain't happening.
You won't know. You won't know if it is in the end. There you go.
We'll see.
Okay, Pat, give us the next.
Splitgate 2. Dude, my favorite game, guys. Splitgate 2. Listen to this. Already got layoffs. And the CEOs are taking a pay hold until things get settled out. Is this like a good thing? Oh, yay for them. They're really set in stone to do this. Or it's all going downhill, brother.
I think this studio raised $100 million to make this game. So if they have to take pay cuts because of that, then they have used all their money. That's crazy. Releasing video games is really, really hard nowadays. And so I understand that there are levers that you have to be able to get to in order to find success within the studio, and your game has to kind of pop up. It's a free-to-play game, so you're not going to make money there, so you got to sell a lot of skins. This is a very bad thing. I'm selling this. I think this is awful. I don't think it's good news coming out. I think it's going to be the death of Splitgate 2, which I haven't played it yet, but I did play Splitgate 1 a bunch, and it was a fun game, but it obviously didn't hold my attention for much longer than the initial intro, so I am selling.
Save yourself, brother. Sell. Look, I don't know why they thought, and look, I don't want to just be negative Nancy over here and trash on everybody, but I don't know why they thought Splitgate 2 was going to be a good idea. Splitgate 1, yeah, I played a little bit of it. It's a fun game. It's fine. But that game died within a month. I don't know why they thought that this game all of a sudden was going to be better and be more wherever you see. It's too niche. It's too niche of a game to be able to stand out in this market that's already flooded. And that CEO, bro, he just needs to shut his mouth. Bro yaps too much. He does more damage than he does good. Crazy.
All right, the next one we have here, Beast Game Season 2. They're actually starting to record next month is what the press release said. Who knows if they'll actually be ready because they're building a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of things in Saudi Arabia. It's a big kind of event, but you buying or selling Beast Game Season 2?
I really want to sell this one, but I will buy because I do like the overall concept of it and everything. I think it's a cool idea, and it's cool to get something that massive and stuff and be able to pull it off. The one thing I don't like is I didn't like Beast Game Season 1. I thought it felt too much like I was literally just watching a YouTube video that was put into a show. And it's got those typical Mr. Beast mannerisms that, frankly, I'm just tired of at this point.
Interesting. I thought the games on the show for Season 1 were awesome. I love this concept. I think it's really cool. Season 2 renewal is amazing. I love Mr. Beast content. I think that these are exciting, fun, new, and different games as opposed to the boring stuff that we consistently see. But I'm an escape room person, and I love complex puzzles, and I like seeing other people kind of navigate those situations. And I like to see them betray their friends, kind of like Survivor. So I'm down with this. I think you should buy Season 2 renewal. I'm excited.
Yeah, but it ain't no Survivor, though.
It's not.
That's the problem. But moving on, another game coming out from a little small dev that made a game called Sifu. I don't know if you ever played it. Pretty fun martial arts game. Hard. Very hard game. They just released their new game, which is basically, you've probably seen it, it's Rocket League without the cars. So it's basically just soccer. It's 3v3 soccer in an enclosed arena. Some people like it, some don't. It's getting some pretty good receptions, but they didn't release crossplay off the rip. It was understood that crossplay was going to be in there. You was going to be able to play between Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. But they just released the game, no crossplay. Don't say anything until the community makes an uproar about it. So, buying or selling, that this is selling, it's breaking the trust, or buying, it's not really that big a deal.
I'm going to sell this. Like I said, making video games is hard, and there's a premium title on being able to produce a game that's actually ready to go. And that's one of those marks where like crossplay has to be ready to go when you release the game. You cannot rush those things. You have to take your time, make sure you release right. Because what happens is the community gets a negative taste in their mouth, and then the game disappears. Because the game is fine. I'm sure it's fun and addictive. I haven't played it yet, but it looks intriguing, and that I would pull my attention. Kind of like Splitgate 2, but I don't think it's going to hold all of my attention. It's not going to be my new main game. And so I think that ignoring this, not addressing it, and then releasing anyway is a terrible idea. I think it says a lot about where you are and what you think about your community. So I'm selling this. Go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to sell. I mean, I do want to root for these devs, but like I think that's just little oversights that aren't necessary, and it's definitely deliberate.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with me. It's not like, oh, we forgot to say we didn't have crossplay. It's like they clearly just let it try to fly under the radar, and they should know better. You're not going to get away with something like that. All it takes is one dude or chick making a Twitter post about it, and then next thing you know, everybody's picking it up, and now you're the bad guy. A silly mistake.
Hate it. Okay, Epic Games rumored to add social voice chat to the Fortnite arena mode. Pat, proximity chat. Tell me, you about this? You not about this? What do you think?
Look, I'm a fan of proximity chat, but I don't think I'm a fan of it in Fortnite. So sell. I think it's a bad thing when, and look, I don't know. It's one of those things. There's a lot of kids that play Fortnite.
You got 2 kids at home. You got 2 kids at home, so you're thinking about it like a dad. Yeah.
I don't care for them to have voice chat. They already can talk to your teammates, and you can play with up to 3 random people per game. So it's not like you ain't getting a little bit of chatting going on with randoms. But like, it's even with like Roblox. Like, imagine if Roblox had like voice comms. Holy goodness, that would be crazy. I think it's something that I don't know. I'm against it.
I like it. I think it's fun. I think it makes games exciting. I like interacting with people. If people are really annoying, I just mute them. So for me specifically, I would say buy. But I understand as a parent that I think I would sell this. So I can't half and half this. I will buy it for myself, but I understand why, from the kid's perspective, it's not necessarily great for the overall experience because people are terrorists on the internet at times.
Speaking of terrorists, Elon Musk. Twitter. They have a little bit of streaming over there, all right? And some people have been using it, Tend the Tatman Summit or whatever, but Elon's really wanting to go in with the streaming on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, he's hinting at a bunch of new features that might be coming so we can get more integration. So it can potentially be a rival of YouTube, of Twitch, of, what's that other one called, the green one? Kick. Yeah, that platform. Anyway, buying or selling the fact that this could change the way streaming is for Twitter, or selling just nobody needs another streaming service.
I mean, it's funny. I used to go to Twitch a lot, but I've kind of not gone to the Purple Monster in a long time. I normally go to YouTube to watch my stuff now. I'm kind of a YouTube guy. I like that I can go back in time. I don't, like I grew up on Twitch, right? Like I understand it. I'm cool with new platforms. I don't have an issue with this stuff, but it has to be better in some way or different. And I don't know how it's different or better. If it is different or better, I might watch some stuff on it. From what I've seen previously, which is Elon streaming Diablo on it, it's not that exciting, and so I'm not about it. But I'll buy this. I'm cool with new players entering the market. I hope that it creates change and it makes other people make their platform better. So.
Same. Unfortunately, it's a buy for me as well.
Unfortunately.
It's more competition. Yes, it makes it better, so I'm all for it because Twitch has been slacking. But I'm with you. I'm big Team Red. YouTube all the way. It's just that's where I watch everything now. And maybe Twitter will be able to do that. But, yeah, what's there now leaves a lot to be desired. And maybe he can change that up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the utmost faith that he will find something cool and creative that's exciting. But to this point, it's like, I'll buy it because it's fine, but I don't think it's amazing. Okay, next one. Meta Quest 3 reportedly dropping the resolution rate on the next-gen headset because of hardware requirements and things like that. Are you buying or selling this? You think that's cool? You think that's not cool? What do you think?
This one's kind of a tough one, really, because, like, when VR was first coming around, I thought it was so cool, and now I just kind of think it's kind of mid. But I think I'll buy it because I think when it comes to VR, from what I've seen and what I've come to know, and my children love VR, is that the graphics for virtual reality aren't really that big of a deal. Resolution is it's kind of not that big of a deal as long as you can get in there and have the fun that's intended for a VR title, whether that's the Beat Sabers or the little Battle Royales or whatever it may be. I think that doing this, maybe making it'll be a little bit cheaper, a little bit more affordable.
Yep.
I think it's a good job.
I'm with you. I'm buying it. I think affordable is better. I don't think people really care about the graphics for the VR. I say that there is a market that does care about it, but the majority of the market just wants to play their fun game and for it to be entertaining. And I think that that's ultimately the goal. And so affordability makes sense to me, so I'm buying it.
All right, and our final buy or sell here is a sad one. For all you League of Legends fans and animes and weebs, all you guys, Arcane Season 3, it's not happening.
We're talking to the weebs, huh?
Netflix, yeah, the weebs are weeping right now. Netflix and Riot, no Arcane Season 3. That's all you get, 1 and 2. Buying or selling? Buy. Don't need it. Story cleaned up fine. Sell. Milk this thing.
Buy. I think it's fine. It's over now. It's gone.
Not much emotion on this one.
I mean, I'm cool with it being over at this point. It really didn't catch my eye. I don't think it was that exciting. So
That's a bad take, brother. That's a bad take. All right, look, I'm with him, though. I'm with him. Bye. Bye. No, I think the story ended great from someone who actually watched the show over here and actually cares. It was beautifully wrapped up. The story, a contained story about Vi and Jinx and Echo, all of them. It wrapped up perfectly. There's no need for a season 3. Now, do I want them to make another one? Yeah, but it don't need to be called Arcane. It can be about the Nexus or whatever, and it can be called something completely different with all new characters. Perfectly fine. All in all, great show. Wrapped it up. Good job, Riot. Good job, Netflix. You actually did a couple things right for once. Let's go.
Thank God it's over. In other news, there is a prequel coming out, though, for Arcane. So we'll get something. It's just you're not going to get that.
Dude, I take back everything I said. Sell. Milk it.
Milk it. You're funny, Pat. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Skill Diff. It's been exciting. I hope you bought and sold stuff with us. I hope you disagreed and agreed with our opinions. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and join us on the next episode next week. Thanks for joining, and have a great day.
Jesus Christ, why?